All right, we're gonna invite Claudia Ewin up here to the microphone. We've got. Sorry, Todd.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say we should introduce Ryan.
I was.
He
Yeah,
came
I
in
was.
and,
Yeah,
you know,
as
I
Claudia's
slipped in
coming
like
up.
a ninja.
Yeah, we wanted to
like
just
a ninja.
surprise Ryan Gertis is here. He's gonna help us walk through the real estate conversation. So we've got a pretty powerful panel here of Ryan, Claudia, and Todd Menard.
How pumped are you guys that Mike's not here? like you get me instead.
Okay, so if you are, this is a good time to, comment into Nick on the podcast.
Oh no, this is Nick's opportunity to get redemption.
It's my time to shine.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, we're gonna jump into, because this is a very important topic, and I know we touch on it. We've briefly gone over it. We've done a 3-pack on it, but I don't think we've ever really spent an entire portion of the podcast with multiple people who can walk through how to have real estate conversations. Getting into 2026 with all of the coming out of 2025, already seeing a pretty bustling market. Yep. We need to know how to do this. And I think this is what stops a lot of new licensees in their tracks. They just don't feel like they have the confidence. That's why we're really excited to have Claudia on, who's also our director of coaching. So we have a couple different angles here that we're going to take on this conversation. And then, Ryan, you got the keyboard, my friend. So I'm going to let you just kind of run us through.
So I hit the down button or the right button?
Either one. I think it's your special day.
All right. There we go. That's a Mike comment.
Well, some things just rub off.
I was pumped to be here without Mike, and you're over here sounding
Sorry,
like him, dude. All right. Cool. Well, thanks for having me, guys. And hello to the West USA community. It's good to be here. So we're going to be talking about real estate conversations. Just to kind of kick things off, if you are that person that is just a nod your head along to your client or to whomever you're speaking to, then you're already losing. There is so much misinformation out there right now. I can't tell you, like, every single conversation that I'm having lately, within the first 5 seconds, they're already just chirping whatever they saw on TikTok or whatever social media that they're queuing in on, and you have to stop it right there in its tracks. And that's probably kind of like one of the newest developments in how I'm interacting with people.
Yeah. I was excited to see this number one bullet here and talk about it, because it's true. People don't want to have to talk to a salesperson, right?
Right.
But that is because they have no confidence. There's a lot of questionability. They're not feeling comfortable. So, and one thing that I like about agents that do get the information, everything that Todd shared this morning, I'm sure you use in your sales life, because you guys educate the consumer. That gives them confidence in you, confidence in the product. Right? You can't sell anything if you don't know your product. And it's not just the physical property, it's the market. So the more that you can get informed on, I'm so excited to see the year-end numbers that Todd's going to put out on Facebook for us, because that, for me, is my ammo. That is going to show that I know my product. And your product is the market, right? So, and I know that your team does this, Ryan. You guys educate the consumer. And that is, again, giving them something of value. Not only am I going to show you these beautiful homes, but I'm going to show you and give you some information about the industry.
You remember a decade ago, Ryan, when maybe a little longer than that, when internet really started to become the thing, and people would start doing research on the internet that was never there before. And there was that one ad on TV that had, a guy and a girl talking, and he's like, well, where did you get that information? And she said, the internet.
The internet.
And like the internet was the everything and the educator and taking over, that I don't now need to have a smart person in my life in that particular field. I can do it my own because I can go research this stuff for myself. Well, guess what AI's done? AI is now in that exact thing. You have to, AI is not, as much as I love AI, I use it for everything.
It only gets you 70% there.
Yeah, and it really takes you even back maybe 20%, because now you got to verify everything it tells you, because a lot of times it's wrong. So here's what you see today versus, I think in your conversation, Ryan, I'll let you talk with it. But here's what we're seeing. We're seeing is people don't think they want to use a realtor or they think that they're going to invest in real estate specifically because they've created an AI friend and they get their data and their information from AI and they think now all of a sudden AI is it. Or they're seeing all these people that now have these podcasts that now are spewing information and they're doing it. They're following these podcast promoters, which is you do one a day for 365 days and then you do one a month and you start subscribing. That's kind of the concept of what this new AI business podcast thing is all about. Well, I got to tell you, a lot of those people don't have the experience to be standing there and doing those podcasts. Yes, they're doing podcasts that you and I are not, but we're comparing our insides now, what we know, what we don't know, the diligence that we personally want to provide to our client. We're comparing our insides to their outsides, to the thing that we're seeing them produce and spew online. And I think personally, that's a problem, but it's a gift to our conversation today because you're going to tell people and you've been telling people.
Sure.
And that's the reason why they need you.
And with a lot of these podcasts and influencers that you're seeing out there, sure, it might work for certain situations or certain markets or, certain scenarios, but they're trying to pawn it off as this is the all-being, all-knowing. And it's like, okay, that's the moment that it's a lie, right? That you need to run.
Sure.
Because doing real estate, I want you to subscribe to my channel to learn about real estate. But how many houses have I sold?
Yeah, probably none. Yeah, or maybe they did decades ago, and they think that their information is evergreen, and it's just not. It's if you've spent any time in this market, it's changing every single day, and that's the only constant, right? So yeah, first bullet point up there is no one wants to talk to a realtor, but everyone wants to talk real estate. And that being said, I usually don't even let on that I'm in the industry for quite a while into the conversation because, quite frankly, I'm interviewing them.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out whether or not I want to work with this individual because, as you know, particularly when you're in a market like this, people are time vampires, and you need to manage your time wisely and figure out whether or not the person in front of you is worth it. So I'm over there. I'm drilling them. Who's their influencers? Where are they getting their information from?
Great question. Tell me more.
Right. Yeah. Well, exactly. So, when it comes to that, you have to identify the person in front of you if you want to work with them or not, and whether or not they're going to follow through. Because I set some pretty hard standards right up front. Like I said earlier, people are just starting to spew misinformation within the first 5 seconds, and it's like, okay, are you coachable? Right?
Yeah, because there's a long road ahead. It's not just let's go out and look at homes. You're going to be dealing with that client for some time, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, you do have to interview the client, and I think that's a really important point. Not all buyers are the same, so if you have an investor buyer, that's going to be extremely different. So you need to know what they know where they're going so that you can get them to where they should be, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a good point.
And for me, I don't want to be for everybody. I don't try to be for everybody. I'm just like you guys. I'm a data junkie. Like I chase numbers. I don't care about the color of the wall. I don't care that that they're all into the engineered hardware. I don't care about that.
I love that you said that because I'm not a data junkie. So I rely on the information I see from the professionals like Todd, people that study the numbers. In my real estate career, I think I did the best when I had my partner with me because he was very methodical. He was the numbers guy, but I knew that I wasn't. So that to me was important.
Well, I think what a synopsis of what this slide is here is that, Ryan, you're looking at people and you're saying to people, tell me more. Okay, where did you get that information? What does that mean for you? Interest rates are lower. How do the interest rates move? Maybe you're constantly challenging them to try to come up with a point where they either have to stop because they really don't know. But what you're doing, what I'm hearing is this, and tell me if this is wrong.
No.
I'm hearing you putting somebody in a position for you to come to the realization whether you want to work with them, not because you just want to decide if you want to work with them, but because of what's on this screen, or know what's on their mind. If they are so indoctrinated with the wrong information the ability for you to move them might become impossible. And yet you get them into your car and you drive them because you think conversion means selling a house, getting them in your car, rather than selecting the person that is most likely to close.
And they're probably still going to transact with or without me, and that's perfectly fine. But I can tell you one thing: they're not going to be calling me up a year later talking about what a crappy deal they got or what a crappy property they got or whatever, because I'm not going to work. I'm not going to work on a transaction that I don't stamp off on, and that's. I mean, I think that's kind of one of the big things that makes me different.
It leads us right into our second point, which is true, and that's what I was saying. Is you do have to stand out in this industry, whether it be the extra time you take with your client to, again, quantify the relationship here. What do you need from me? And here's what I need from you. And again, what makes you different, it's very, very important in sales.
And for us over on our team, it's all about building generational wealth.
Correct.
And we never deviate from that aspect of it. Are there other people out there that's their focus? Yeah, but I can tell you 85, 90% of the people out there that have a real estate salesperson license, they're over there trying to convert transactions. They're trying to get that contract signed, and they're gonna do it for their own benefit. And I'm not hating on that. No. I'm just saying that's not my bag, baby.
But then we're not doing anything to have that person come back into our lives, and we actually shut them out because we think they're not going to buy for another 8 years. So why take the time to invest in that person? It would be better. Here's the thing. Everybody needs to buy their first house. Everybody needs to engage in real estate as consumers. Everybody, because that really sets them up for success in blue collar and 401 at the end of the year, at the end of their careers. But Ryan, I almost called you Mike. But Ryan, sorry. Here's the thing. You and I know each other for many years.
Yeah.
But the thing that I'm trying to see here, and I'm trying to help the agents that are listening with, is first, they don't know where to go to find a buyer or a seller. They don't know how to leave the house and go have a conversation. So that's maybe 80% of real estate agents. They are waiting for the person to come up. They're working in their or on their business, but they're not working in their business. They've come so far to the point where we've indoctrinated people to be working on your business a portion of the time. Now they're working on their business, the analytic, but they're not going to work. They're not actually putting themselves in a situation where they're going to bump into somebody to have a real estate conversation. So I'd like to just ask you guys, how do you wake up in the morning and have the mindset, or because you're both different, you just admitted that, right? Mm-hmm. One's analytical, one's a high I. The thing is, what stimulates you to go find somebody, and where would you begin going to have a real estate conversation? The other part of that is when you have one, are you trying to convert them, or you're trying to kind of long-term, meaning, I'll give you a couple of weeks to get on board with this type of conversation, or are you, because we also talk about the word conversion, and I think we misinform our agents that when they get a phone call like out of Zillow or something, they got to convert them into a buyer right now versus helping them navigate through that whole service that might take 6 months, but then you're going to own somebody.
Yeah, I love it. So the mindset, obviously, that's where everything starts. But for me, I kind of have to post date it because I'm in cruise control. I'll be honest with you. I've been doing this so long, it's just kind of habit. So it's kind of like when you first start out, like I guess the only way I can compare it is like a workout regimen. Like the hardest part is going to the gym, right? So don't think about it. Get off your ass, get in the car, go to wherever you need to go, and just start.
If that donkey is riding, then yes, get off that donkey. You don't want to stay on that. But one thing that I do see, and it's kind of a good mesh of different personality types. Social media. You guys are posting information. That's how you're putting it out there. That is the greatest and the best way to reach the multitudes, because you're putting it out there. It's not you're selling one particular property, perhaps, but you're selling yourself. You're selling your service. So you're putting that out there socially. So for a person like me who is a high I, it works phenomenally. And a person like you who is very data centric, it also works great, because that's the medium that's going to benefit us both. So, and if you look at a lot of the successful teams, they're out there posting but it's also bringing you back to reality. So it doesn't even have to be real estate related. The more people can relate to you as a person, as someone who's out there hustling or getting the information, the more that they're going to want to come to you and retain that information. And hopefully you can retain that client or that contact. Because yes, the buyer, that person that calls you, it's a lead, right? That lead could take 6 months. But if they're following you, if you've hooked them with some information, then you're going to be able to convert them
So
eventually.
you're already down to questions 5 and 6.
I want to
here.
just
We're
jump
we're,
in.
we're, going to be all over the map
As we,
anyhow. You know?
as we talk through this slide, I would say, reminding everyone on the podcast that's listening here, the goal is real estate conversation. The way that we map this out, probably we could have done a little bit better job. I think the top bullet should be the goal is to collect data and set appointments. That's what everything under it is focused on. The reminder is you're out in the world, you're having conversations. What we're talking about is meeting someone that you've never spoken to before, maybe is following you on social media, but you've not directly talked to them or engaged with them, someone that calls you on the phone, or you walk into a coffee shop and someone starts a conversation with you and you do the age-old adage, you don't say you're a real estate agent, they start chatting with you. You say, well, what do you do for work? They kind of talk to you about it for a couple of seconds, and then like clockwork, they're going to go, what do you do for work?
Yep.
Oh, I work in real estate. And then it's an immediate conversation starter because it's what I do and I don't actively sell, and I can go out right now blindfolded and have a 45-minute conversation with whomever about real estate. I don't actively sell. So you that's on here that might be a newer licensee, someone that might not have the confidence comes by knowledge. It's having the ability to learn and grow within your industry, meeting with coaches, listening to the podcast, taking the data that's being provided to you and internalizing it. And then what we're talking about right now, before we go to the next one, is what makes you different. And again, I know this is a challenging and possibly a frustrating conversation for a newer licensee, someone whose business is not productive as they want to be. There's 44,000 active realtors in Arizona. How am I possibly going to become different from the next person? You need to find your why that you're running this business. Why are you in real estate? What is your goals? Who do you want to work with? That lets you focus on what makes you different. It's work you put in the front end of starting your business. These guys are on here. They're coming from years of experience. So after this podcast, if you're still a little spun, that's why Claudia is on the podcast. You reach out to Claudia and you have a conversation with a coach, someone that can kind of help direct that energy on how you can start to move incrementally to a place that's going to be a more productive business.
And one of the things that does make you different is the grind. Yeah. Like if you're that one that is actually out there working this as a full-time job and not a hobby, you're already a different different breed than most of the people out there. And I want to finish answering your question. What do you do to go out and find clients? It is anything that's everything. Ryan Reed, I was talking with him a few weeks ago at the Christmas party, and he says, all of our new agents, they get 100 days, and they're doing an open house every single day. And I'm like, dude, that's a brilliant idea. But I would take it one step further. I don't care if you've been in the industry 50 years or 50 seconds. Yeah. If you're hitting a standstill or you're just, you're
not hitting your numbers.
Yeah, you're not hitting your numbers. Do the 100-day challenge and don't stop until maybe it's 200 days. I don't know. Whatever that number is, where you're setting up an event or open house or whatever it is that you've found most of your success from, then that's what you do every single day. And those reps and sets are going to be what increases your conversion.
Of course.
Making you have better conversations.
Yeah, and that's using that muscle memory. Again, if you don't do scripts or you're not good at memorizing things, if you just get used to having that conversation, I say this to our new agents all the time in coaching and during React Week. Nobody teaches you how to describe a home. This is a foyer. This is recessed lighting. This is granite. This is quartz. This is coffered ceilings. No one shows you that in real estate. It's not in a book in school. That's not something that you see. But yet, if you have time, go to a new home build. Meet up with a coach. Go over the amenities. Oh, this is executive height countertops. I had no idea. But open house gives you that opportunity to practice that, right? To how do I talk to a potential client? How do I do that? How can I talk to a lead and then again bring them in? You can't find that anywhere else like you can at open house.
Yeah, and it's funny. We have one of our team members. She's just one of the sweetest, nicest people. And I said, you need to go do an open house, and you need to just be rude to everybody.
Learn how to be rude.
Yeah, like learn how to say no.
Yeah,
Learn
yeah.
how to challenge people. Don't
Right.
nod along and say yes, like we were talking about. Like learn that so that you can learn how to be more assertive.
Sure.
That you can actually go out there and represent. Because I mean, a huge element of this job is negotiating. Who wins in those negotiations? It's
Right.
never the nice one.
I actually used that when, as agents, we get a lot of calls from investors, calls, texts. It drives you insane. However, when they call me, I said, you know what? Send me an email. I will keep your information. When something comes up, I will let you know. Take charge of that conversation because they don't take no for an answer. So again, that took me a minute to do because I'm one of those people. No, I don't. So after a while, it gets annoying. So I took control of that conversation, and I actually have used some of those investors. I've actually sent them out emails. I've actually forwarded them on to people because I gathered the info. It became, you know what? You're going to do something for me. Send me an email. I'll keep your information. Case done.
You know what I do with investors? All right. Yeah, we're looking to flip homes. We're looking for our next opportunity, whatever. Okay, cool. What's your model?
Yeah.
What's your buy box?
And they say, anything that makes money. Okay. So if we buy $1 million home and it makes $1,000 a month, that's cool. Well, no. Okay. Well, then you have numbers in mind. Let me help you out building a model. And then once we build this model and I find something that fits within that model and checks all those boxes, I expect you to sign.
Right. You
They
put
said-
him on the spot.
Yeah. And then it's, okay. Well, I mean, it's,
Right.
go or
Thanks,
get off the
bye.
pot.
No.
Yeah. Right. Are you for real or not?
Right.
Right.
Correct.
So as we
Correct.
go on to the next bullet point, I want to remind everybody, and again, we're listening to experienced agents. Those agents that are apprehensive, they're worried about doing a bad job. I'm going to pull the curtain back and a spoiler alert a little bit. You're going to do a bad job. The first couple of conversations.
We all did.
No one is perfect the first stop out of the box. That agent that held 100 open houses in 100 days, he fumbled the conversations for a while. I'm sure of it. We all do. This business is great because we get to learn by doing, and it allows us to do better the next time. So be okay being brand new. Be okay being the rookie. Be okay saying the wrong thing, knowing that you're going to shake it off. You're going to stand back up. You're going to have the memory of a
Yeah, you
goldfish,
will.
and you're going to try again the next day.
I love the
Memory of a
lasso.
goldfish.
Ted
Yeah.
Lasso. Yeah, I love it.
You know, what's really funny here is that when those of us that have been in the business, and let's call it a decade, maybe 2 or longer, when you got in the business, your broker made you go do rentals, and you hated it. And you drove around, showed 30 different properties, and you got paid $300. And you were like, what the heck am I doing here? Learning.
Yeah.
You're learning how to have conversations. You're learning what people want and what they don't want. You're learning how to use your lockbox key to open a door. You're learning all these things. You're learning how to search. Before you, and guess what? This is the most needy group of real estate people out there. Our tenants. They need real estate services. So I don't know. I've always been one that if you put 20, if you took your first 100 days and you put 20 people in rentals, a year from now, you have 20 potential buyers at your doorstep because none of them want to continue renting unless they have to. And
They
everything,
convert through the roof.
and everything that's on this list here, everything that's on this list, the one thing you can't change is item number 4, their mind.
Knowing what's on their
Other
mind.
than that, you can help them change their finances. Their finances can help them either afford, or you can direct them. You can put them in touch. But that's the one that is the most difficult. But guess what? Look in the mirror. That's the one that's most difficult for us too.
It
Is
is.
our mind is coming up to the reason is why do I want to go have a conversation? Because you just might get paid, and along the way, you're definitely going to walk away with knowledge.
No doubt. So what do you guys think? What are you seeing as the most common objections?
Well, it
Right.
used to be incorrectly interest rates, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
look what happened to those people. They might have saved 2% waiting over 2 years, but they lost $48,000 in equity.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
And I would say, that's probably the biggest thing is the interest rate. And that conversation, it can go a multitude of different ways. The biggest point I like to make, especially to new agents, is talk to a lender, find out what programs are out there. Because right now, if you're looking at comparables and you see that there are concessions that have been paid out, can we get those in the summer when the rates are lower? Maybe not. So it's money for your client, your buyer client now up front, or it's monthly. So where, yes, interest rates may be higher than they want to, which, by the way, they're still great rates. A 6.5, 6.7, even a 7 is a great interest rate, because what we had before was just a Band-Aid. We got used to that Band-Aid. So where that interest rate may be high, but right now, guess what, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer? We can negotiate, because it looks like in this area, in this market, sellers are paying more concessions. So you're going to have less money down, have more help, possibly pay for a buy down. So there's more money we can get on the table there. The negotiations are going to be different for every type of market, right? So right now, you got to deal with what we have.
And I think the best example of that is new home builds right now.
Oh, yeah.
And so I sat down with a client of ours last week, and it was, I mean, you teed it up perfectly, Claudia. So we had 2 homes that we were looking at. Builder was offering 1% or 1 interest rate over here with a higher price, with a lower interest rate. The other one was a lower purchase price with a higher interest rate. At the end of the day, the monthly payment was going to be the same, right? But I'm sitting there and I'm like, hey, check this out, man. If you go with the one with the lower interest rate but the higher purchase price, when it comes time to putting a for sale sign out there in 5 years, you're gonna have a much different position than you are over here. And while I'm not a CPA, you should probably talk to your CPA about what type of tax advantages you have over having a higher interest rate, even when you have the same payment, because you're probably going to have more write-offs and better tax advantages.
And that's huge, because, again, you're the professional showing them to look around the corner, not just right in front of you. But it'll take you as a professional to say, hey, I've seen this a couple times. Let's take a look at this. This is where you're going to be in the future.
Yeah, but in his point too, it didn't cost him anymore.
Yeah.
He said they were saying the same payment.
They were saying the same payment.
Keep
Yeah.
going, sorry.
No, but
Apologize.
new home builders have cornered that market. Yeah. They took control of that conversation. The problem, again, if we see the problem is the monthly amount, what can we do to better that monthly amount? Is my seller going to offer 2 years HOA paid? Possibly. Is that going to make a difference in someone's monthly? Yes, it will. So again, tackle the problem.
Yeah, and think about the market. Think about your first-time home buyers. They're different than the move-up buyers. They're different than the retirees that are moving out of their, home, and now they're empty nesters and they're moving into, want to reduce the size of their properties. Everybody has honestly different requirements going in. But also think about it from this perspective. If you're dealing with families that are moving up, or even just anybody who's moving up, the biggest issue is no longer their down payment or the interest. The biggest issue is moving their kids, moving their families, relocating, new schools, new this, new that. The trauma that goes through animals when they relocate.
Right.
But if you look at it from that perspective, Ryan, I think you and you do, Mike does, you and we've known each other for 30 years. There's Mike DuVille out there that has a similar concept. When you select a different market, you said you pick your clients. Mm-hmm. When you select a different market, think about the fact that you don't have to have a real estate conversation with the family. That means you're relocating them. What about helping them with their first investment home? What about exciting them
They're all
so
investment
much
homes.
that by mistake? Good point. That's a really good point. But I'm saying potentially a rental, long-term hold potentially, and you put people into these scenarios. They don't have to relocate their families, or if they're going to refer someone to you that isn't them, it's their friend or somebody else. That's not them relocating. But if you've thought they're no longer valuable to you because they just bought a house from you, and now you're not going to see them for another 8 years, you're missing this whole where do I start my next real estate conversation?
Our follow-up strategy is very aggressive, particularly for the first year. And then after that, we are doing a pro forma for them every 6 months, even if they're living there. Right, so it's okay. We're gonna figure out what your cap rate is. We're going to use previous data to anticipate what the next 5 years look like, And when we sit down in a year, if the numbers aren't where we thought they would be, then we're going to make some adjustments,
Yeah.
right?
As a consumer, I would love that. If I was one of your clients, I would love that you're still thinking about me, thinking about how to better my situation, thinking of how to help me. Like, okay, I bought my home. I'm happy here. But hey, guess what? We just got this email. And if we follow this plan, we can be in a pretty great position. This is our stepping stone now. Let's move it up and let's see how we can make money off of what we've already spent.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So knowing what's on people's minds and knowing common objections, it's kind of tailored towards the conversations that you're having with these individuals. The media and social media are going to drive a lot of the incorrect information. I think we've all touched on that, Ryan. You started with it. But to the point that we're talking about after we transact at this point, it doesn't necessarily change our ability to have conversations with those that we haven't transacted with, those that we haven't gotten an employment agreement with yet. We're keeping our pulse on what's happening in the market, our hands on the pulse, what's happening in the market. So you guys doing what you're doing, it allows you to course correct people's wrong mindsets, and you're able to get in front of objections because what they think is the problem isn't.
Nick, you said something I think is really important and we all need to think about. Ryan, I love the wealth thing, obviously. But Claudia, you deal with more of I'm at 0 or I'm at 1 and I need to get to 8 or 10 for me to survive in real estate closed transactions, and Ryan, not that, obviously you do that too, but your own businesses.
Sure.
Historically, you've got 30 years of history now of success. So my question is, to Nick's point, it doesn't have to be somebody that you've already done business with, and the sphere of influence, your brother, your cousin, your sister, your relative, the person you buy that you talk to when you get your coffee every day, and all those little things. Hey, thanks for the great service. Here's my, and I'm not a business card guy really, but think about it this way. Hey, thanks for the great service today. Here's my business card. If I can ever help you, I'd be happy to offer you equally as great service. Thank you so much. Or something along those lines. What's your name? How can I get back in touch with you? But those are the real estate conversations. We're waiting to convert somebody before we have those real estate, meaning mentally that they've got to be interested in real estate before we convert them.
Yeah.
And the point is, stop thinking conversion. Start thinking relationships.
Right.
And as your relationships grow, business, if people like you, the business is going to happen even if you're brand new with no experience. You're going to get an opportunity.
And that's practicing that mindset. If you see someone walk into the Starbucks that you're sitting there working on your laptop, working on your business, and they're wearing an ASU sweatshirt, you'd be like, oh, hey, great sweatshirt. I have a client that I just sold a house to. Her daughter just went over to ASU and she is so happy. You just brought up what you do. Without saying, hey, do you know someone who wants to sell or buy today? So now you've related. Maybe they're an ASU alumni and they're very proud of where they went. So now that they can start talking about ASU, and you can, again, bring up your client that you just helped move into a new home that's by the campus or something, or maybe they're downsizing because their child has left to college. So there's a lot of ways that you can relate to somebody without having to bring up, do you know someone who wants to buy or sell today? That it used to work back in the day. I don't like that tactic. I like to bring up what I do without bringing up real estate. And guys,
It's like, tell me you're in real estate without telling me you're in real estate.
That's the best. I love that. I love that. And agents out there, if you guys have scenarios, I don't know how much time is left, but comment them in. We'd love to talk about it. I love interaction. If you guys want to email us to talk about something, we'll bring it up at the next podcast. I would love to hear what you guys are seeing, what you guys are thinking, because again, we're all going through the same thing in different ways.
All right, so we got 3 minutes. We got 3 minutes left. How are you going to answer when someone asks you, how is the market?
Great. It's a wonderful market.
Done.
So it is. It's
know.
a wonderful
That's
market.
the answer.
People are always having to buy and sell. So that's going to be subjective to where they're at in their journey.
Mine is always, well, you know what? That's a really good question. What are you planning to do?
Yeah.
For me, right now, it is a buyer's market. So I'm going to always, right now, I'm going to always say it's a great time to buy. I honestly,
Anytime's a great time.
I don't want to sell anything right now, but I'll be honest with you about that. We are in ultimate buy mode.
So you have a seller that reaches out to you and says, I got to move, I got to downsize, I got to get closer to my kid who's in Tempe and I'm up in
Let's go
Prescott
buy one
Valley.
and we're gonna convert it to a rental.
Yeah.
And I'm going to teach you how to do that. and then when it becomes a seller's market again, I'm gonna help you capitalize on your full potential of your property.
I don't want to say, hey, it's a great market to someone because they're going to go, oh, good. And then they're going to go back and talk to the person they think is their friend, or the person that has a real estate license that they know, or all those other things. But what I do know is time is obligation. And the longer that I have a conversation with that person, the greater chance I have to understand more about what they want to do and where they want to go. And then I can answer those individual questions along the way. And hopefully, realize that whatever environment we're starting this conversation in is not the right environment to have a full conversation. And I've got to find a way to, gee, you know what? I'd love to have more. This sounds really exciting for you. What's your day like what's your day like Thursday at 2?
Make the appointment.
Can I come over and meet you? Don't require they always go to you, because the path of least resistance is what they're going to follow. So if I can come to you, that makes it a lot more
And that's a
easier.
fantastic appointment setting tactic, and that needs to be folded into every single conversation. We have acronyms that we do over on our team, but at the end of the day, you can have the best conversation and relate to somebody really well, but it's all for naught if you're not setting up a follow-up appointment and putting them in CRM and having a system in order to see that relationship through.
I liked that, and you can find what works for you. But even if you say it's a great market, what are you looking to do? Right? It depends on where you're at in the whole scheme of things, right? If someone comes to you and they say that, and they're asking because they're in a situation where they might be a short seller, you have to change your approach, right?
Sure.
So people could be asking the question for many different reasons. So you have to be able to pivot a little bit.
It's definitely situational, but if we're talking about as a whole here, right? If someone asks me how the market is, I'm going to say, I'm going to go back to your numbers. I'm going to say we're in a buyer's market.
Point it out.
Do everything that you can to figure out a way to purchase real estate so that you can you can grow your generational wealth.
We all have those people we call slick salespeople that come to mind when we talk about any product, and we don't like slick salespeople. And by the way, neither does the consumer. So for me, the reason I don't say it's a great market, even though I may know it is because Ryan, you might have overheard me talking to Claudia. Claudia was asking me about buying a home, and you heard that she asked me about buying a home, and I told her it was a great market. And then I went into that, and I went into it's a buyer's market, and blah blah blah. And then you're a seller. Did I just now that overheard that conversation? Did I just now basically I educated you even without talking to you? But the fact is that are you going to come over maybe and ask me now, or better yet, if they hear me say, when you say, oh, how's the market? I'm interested in selling my home. You go, it's a great market. You're a slick salesperson,
right?
And everybody just heard it.
Yeah.
So again, if you really want to be considered the expert, experts rarely give advice. They ask enough questions to be able to give the accurate advice.
Yeah. So to wrap us up today, thank you so much, Claudia and Ryan. Todd, as always, great
Pleasure being
information. So join us in 2 weeks on the podcast. We will have Mike back. So just send us, let's do a poll. Which one do you prefer? But thanks, guys, again. That's a lot of good information. And as always, when we get in these situations, if you're still a little bit confused, if we've asked some questions that have got you thinking more, we have a lot of great teams at West USA. We have a fantastic coaching program. Reach out to your branch manager, reach out to Claudia directly, and we want to help you get ready for 2026. So with that, in real estate, it's not about the market, it's about how you market.
Love that.
Thanks,
Love
everybody.
It's fun.
Go out and
Oh.